Hi, welcome to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. I'm Ross Benjamin. I'm joined by my co-host, the irreplaceable, the indispensable, charismatic Las Vegas professional sports handicapper, Chip Chirimbes. Happy Friday, Chip. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great, Ross. I hope I can only live up to your accolades.
You do. I would not have, well, yeah, maybe I would have lied a little bit, but anyway. In any event, Chip, we got a big weekend coming up. We covered college football yesterday. Today, we're going to touch upon the NFL. And before we get going, I want to say that we're being viewed right now on the OSGA YouTube channel. Great owner there, Mr. Jim Quinn, smart enough to hire us. And anyway, with all kidding aside, OSGA YouTube channel, folks, if you haven't subscribed, absolutely free to do so. There's no hidden agenda. There's no strings attached. As a matter of fact, after you subscribe to our channel, if you hit that bell, it's the notification bell. Anytime we put up a sports betting podcast, including the Winner's Circle, on this network, you will be notified immediately. You can get all our archives right there at the OSGA YouTube channel. Don't forget, at the end of the video, be nice enough to give me and Chipper a like. Doesn't take us much to be happy, and that certainly would go a long way in accomplishing that small little feat. All right, Chipper. Before we go on, you're off a nice last Sunday in the NFL. Tell the folks a little bit about how well you did last Sunday.
Well, you know, every Sunday and every Saturday, as a matter of fact, I put my entire package out. It's called the Fab Five. I'll give you my top 5 plays. We happen to go 4-1, and we're really picking it up. We also went 5-1 on Saturday with the same type of setup where you get one, you know, the best 5 plays I have of the day. And I also add up in a special play. Last week it was North Carolina over NC State. You remember that one, that early starting
2
game.
weeks ago, yeah.
And I tried to give somebody a build your bankroll game where they can start early in the day and then hit the later games a little heavier. So that's pretty much what I do. I call it my Fab Five, and it's been working out really well.
Here. You know what I mean?
8 straight Saturdays we've had winners, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah, well, you're not showing your age. You're still youthful in the mind, my man, thinking clearly and very focused. And, you know, Chip, you got an exciting thing coming up probably next week sometime, huh, with your new website, chipwins.com.
Right. I'm really excited about it. And, you know, I've been so far sharing all my – now you're going to be able to get it exclusively from me.
Right, and you can find me, folks, at rbwins.com. And speaking of the NFL, I've been red hot since the first Monday night of the NFL season. I've gone 26-15 over my last 41 NFL pay selections. That's good for 63%. And those of you who have been betting for quite some time know that's a really good win percentage, as well as going 10-5 over my last 15 with my NFL pay selections as well. All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes, Chip. Seattle at Buffalo. It looks like a tough call here. It also looks like we're going to probably be seeing a lot of Seattle action here in this game with the Seahawks 6-1 straight up, 5-2 against the spread, that high-powered dynamic offense. And right now, the Seahawks, they opened as a 1.5-point favorite. They're now -3. The total in this game is a very high 55, and justifiably so, with the Seahawks defense and Buffalo's inability to stop people other than the Jets. So what's your early thoughts on this one? Well, not even early. What's your thoughts at this juncture on this game?
Well, you know that anytime I see a game where Russell Wilson is involved, I already start going into the cold sweats. I just had such difficulties trying to get by him. That being said, we have gotten by him. He's lost twice this year against a number. They're 5-2, and we did have the Niners against them last time out. And the thing is, this Buffalo team, we discussed this, Ross, got off to such a great start that everyone thought they were going to run away in the AFC East. And without the Patriots even being near the top, we thought it'd be an easy walk for them. But, you know, they've really come back to the pack the last couple of weeks. They didn't even score a touchdown against the Jets, though they moved the ball effectively. I think they had 6 field goals, Ross, 5 or 6 field goals.
6 field goals, 8 field goal attempts.
Right.
Another fumble inside the 20.
I like this Buffalo. They've lost the last 4 against the points. And, we had talked about Seattle. You had mentioned that they had the worst defense in the NFL. Number 32 out of 32, giving up 464 yards. And their offense is third, and their offense is gaining 51 yards less per game than their defense allows. And yet they're 6-2 because of the efficiency of this guy. You know what I'm talking about, Russell Wilson. And this guy just seems to be a thorn in my side. He is my Achilles heel. And here I am, once again, looking at Buffalo at home because the public action has been so strong on the Seahawks. And even though Buffalo, Russ, they've only covered 3 times out of the last 11 that they've been home dogs.
Yeah.
So the trends or the angles or whatever you want to call them going at this game are not on the Bills' side. 13-5. On the road, Seattle against the number. 7-3 on the road as favorites. We're bucking some big trends here if we look to play Buffalo, but I think the Bills are the side. I really do. And you can't do anything about it. I mean, it's instinct. It's just Seattle's been beating everybody up. Maybe this time they come in and they're in for a shock. We know Buffalo beat the Rams at home, and the Rams are a viable team. So, I think that it's going to be a close one. It should be a great battle. And you know what, Ross? I'm not a totals guy, and you know that, but something tells me this has a good chance to go over.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, the total of 55 justifiable. I could easily see this game, both teams being in the 30s in this game, and it going right down. It has all the makings, like I said before, Chip, on another show that I do with you. It has all the makings of a game. Whoever has the ball last.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I have a lean toward Buffalo in this spot. You know me, I always have to do that check within myself when it comes to making a Buffalo pick. I look in the mirror and say, buddy, I got to stay objective. I got to stay personal here. They're the one team, and them and the Yankees in baseball, the 2 teams that, I got to make sure my heart's out of the equation. So,
Ross, what you're saying is so true because there are handicappers in this business, and they call themselves professionals that won't use certain teams, or because they have, or they're always using the same being because they have an affinity. They have their heart is backing them, and we have to throw that away. Being from New York and being a season ticket holder for the Giants, I really don't have any problems going against them. I actually have a little bit more difficulty. I bet like you, Ross, in taking my home team because. You're thinking, are you being bigoted? Are you being prejudiced in your evaluation of the game? I think you're right here with Buffalo, and let's hope I can get right with the Giants once in a while.
Chip, and that takes me to this, because you brought up Russell Wilson, and we're talking about looking at ourselves in the mirror when we're talking about our favorite team and trying to stay professional and objective, which we both do a very good job of doing so, in my estimation. But then you get the opposite end of the spectrum, a guy like Russell Wilson that's burned you time and time again over the last couple of years, a specific team, not just a player, okay? And I'm sure you've encountered this where you're going through a year and you've gone with or against the team and you can't seem to be on the right side of that specific team.
Yeah.
How do you handle that type of situation? Do you just wipe your hands clean with them the rest of the year? Or do you keep going at it the same approach you did in the 4 weeks before when you either lost going on them or against them?
It's a very tough call and a great question, Ross, because when we review this and we go over this, for example, I had a great baseball season, absolutely fabulous, but I had one nemesis, and that was the Mets. And time and again, my system and what I do shows that they were a play. And now if I start deviating from that, Ross, if I start getting away from that, I'm going to lose my focus on all the other games. So sometimes I actually do throw the game out because I said, I just don't want to get beat by this team again. Yeah. But for the most part, we have to do what we feel is best and is right. And we have our systems and we have our, the way we go about things. Yep. And I don't want to change just because one guy or one team seems to be getting to me. It just seemed that way this year. I remember the Mets, of course, because of my, being from New York or coming out to Las Vegas, but it's tough to do because it deteriorates your head. It works on you and it drains you and it exhausts you when you're sitting there going, oh no, not again.
Yeah, and the vulgarities come out when you're watching that team
And
here we go then.
And when you do it, you're wondering if your clients or if the people that are following you are saying, "Oh, he's got to just get a Wooly. He's just got to get back at this team. He's got a thing about." And you can't be like that. And you can't say, "Well, I'm going to get them this time because they got me last time."
That's when you get your emotions involved, right, Chip? Your emotions when your emotions get involved. That's when your judgment, your focus, and your thinking gets clouded.
Yep. And how many times do we make I call them hate bets, where you just you just hate a team and you hate being involved in that situation and you just love going against them.
Yeah.
Although it may not be the right play.
Now, and there's the other side of the coin too, and I'm sure you've encountered this over your many years in this industry. Is that there comes a time when you bet against the team, and the team that you bet against, you lose your bet. But the other team impresses you that you bet against, and then you carry that over to the next week, and you overvalue that team. You have to be careful of that as well, correct?
Absolutely. I think we've said it a million times. No team is as good the next week as they might have looked the previous week, and no team is actually as bad as they might have looked the previous week. We have that difficult task of separating and trying to define that and bring it back to, say, a norm where we say, no, they really weren't that bad or as great as they look. I mean, look what happened with the Niners. They went out and just absolutely destroyed New England 2 weeks ago. I mean, New England couldn't get a first down, and they've been lost ever since. So who knows? It's a difficult task. This is not if this was an easy business, there'd be more people out there. And, the odds makers don't make this point spread so that you don't have to work.
Yep. And I'm going to say it again, my old cliche. Think like a bookmaker, my friends. Right. Think like a bookmaker, because there's a rhyme and a reason how they make a line, number one. And they also, don't kid yourself, they adjust the line even against their power ratings, maybe a point to a half a point, if that. But they do adjust it based on public perception, because at the end of the day, public perception has a very short memory. They remember what happened the week before. They're not looking what's going on the week ahead, and they're not looking at the entire picture. So be real careful of that. Go in, and I think, for lack of a better phrase, Chip, trust your process. If you have a successful process like Chip was alluding to in Major League Baseball, stick to it. Don't wane. Don't overreact. You can tweak it a little at a time if you notice and you feel like you're making a mistake within that process, but don't be a knee jerk, okay? Especially if you're having success. Now, if you're not, then it's time to go back to the drawing board. But then again, if you listen to us, we're giving you years of experience here, and there's a reason why we get paid to give out our advice, and there's a reason why we get paid to be on podcasts such as this. So anyway, Chicago and Tennessee, Chipper, pretty good matchup. In terms of making a call on the point spread. This is a Tennessee team, hard to figure out, Chip. I mean, they won their first 5. They've lost their last 2. We both went against them last week. Did you go with Cincinnati last week against Tennessee?
I had Cincinnati as one of my top plays against Titans,
So we both had Cincinnati against the Titans last week. And we thought it was a good spot because Tennessee coming off that heartbreaking physical game against Pittsburgh, and now they're playing the lowly Bengals. But one thing the Bengals do well is throw the ball. One thing the Tennessee defense does not do well is stop opposing passing games. They're not going to have that issue here today, or Sunday, against the Bears. They're far from a dynamic offense. If Chicago wins this game or even gets close and get inside the number, it's going to have to be with their defense. Chip, your thoughts?
Well, my first thoughts, I think I mentioned this to you. I thought the line was a little bit high when I saw the game, and I said I thought people might gravitate toward the Bears. I think the action's been pretty much mixed on this game. Chicago, the image we have of them, or I've had coming in, is a big, strong defense and a powerful run game. Things are not quite that way with the Bears anymore. No. They're averaging 85 yards a game on the ground, 29th in the NFL. They haven't, other than last week's success on the road, they really haven't done that well. They've only covered 3 of the last 10. And, this Tennessee team leads the NFL in rushing with 156 yards per game. They're number 5 in total offense. I'm kind of surprised with a team that, usually if they rely on the running game that much, their passing game isn't quite there, and their passing game has been adequate enough. The trouble was here, Tennessee at home is a favorite. Ross, they've only won one of the last 6 against the number. And the other thing that concerns me, this isn't the same Chicago Bear defense where we're used to seeing them shutting down the run. They're ranked in the middle of the pack right now defensively against the run. They haven't been very
120 yards
efficient.
a game they give up. Yeah.
Right, and you have the leading rushing team coming in, and it sort of plays to one team's strength is playing to another team's weakness, or where other people perceive that Chicago is really strong, and they're not now. And we know their quarterback issues. My goodness, Trubinsky came in, handled one snap last week, and separated his shoulder, and so now they have to deal with what they're left with. And it's hard to see prospects and to talk about anything positive about this Bears moving forward. Their offense is atrocious, 29th, like I said, and it's a tough game, and I think this is a high number. Tennessee needs to bounce back here. But it's a tough game for me to call. I don't want to take the points here. It just bothers me that Chicago, they came back last week. They had a chance to win the game. They didn't. But it's the rushing defense that concerns me, Ross.
Yeah, and the rushing offense is even worse than what you just alluded to, Chip, because they weren't bad in their first 3 games. Over their last 5 games, they've averaged around 68 yards per game rushing. And less than 3 yards per carry.
You're not going to win any games with that.
No, and you're not setting up play action pass. Now your offensive line is shown it can't protect the passer. You don't have a mobile quarterback in Nick Foles. So a lot of problems there with the Bears. But it's never that easy. This is one of those games that scares me a little bit because Tennessee looks like the obvious play, but it might be one I shy away from. Anyway, let's get to our next game, a really good matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Indianapolis Colts, a pair of 5-2 teams. This game opened with the Ravens being a 2-point favorite. They're now down to a pick'em or a -1, depending on where you look. The over and under in this game is 47.5. Baltimore, I got my question. You know my feeling on them. They got to show me something. In Indianapolis, they started out like a house on fire on defense, giving up just 12 points and 236 yards per game in their first 4 games, Chip. But their last 3, they've been torched. So what's your feelings on this game? I'd be interested to hear them.
Well, we've talked about this Raven team and the dynamics of their offense, which is based around a quarterback running the football. They come up against a tough defense last week. If you shut down that Baltimore Raven running game, space, you're going to have Lamar Jackson looking to pass the ball, and that is where they falter and they show their weakness. Their 31st total pass offense, they're 180 yards on the ground. I think they passed who were we just talking about, Tennessee last week. But Indy, who's 5-2, is 3-0 at home, 3-0 against the number, and they opened up an underdog. And that bothers me, Ross. And I'll tell you one other reason that bothers me. In the last 11 meetings, Baltimore's only beaten Indy once. Yeah. They've only won 1 time against the number in the last 10 meetings. And the Colts' mission is going to be to stop Lamar. They have to do that. Their defense is number 2. They're giving up less than 300 yards a game, 293, I believe it is. But the under for their games is good 11 of the last 12 meetings against Baltimore. That might be the way to go. We have 2 formidable defenses clashing right here. And instead of maybe trying to pick the winner, decide who's going to do this, that's the way to go. Indianapolis plays well, Ross, against teams with winning records. They're 12-4 against the points against teams with winning records. And Baltimore is going to come in a real nasty mood after having outgained last week, outgained the Pittsburgh Steelers, and still coming down with a defeat. And that was because you said it during the game. I was reading your text that this Lamar Jackson was killing us, and he's got to be able to be able to keep the ball in play. You can't be fumbling inside the 10 and inside the red zone more than once a game, if that at all. So this is a tough call. I think my first instinct was that the public would be taking Baltimore, and maybe the professionals might be on Indy, but I don't know if I've seen that during the week. You know how we check our sources.
Yes.
It's hard to make a call here other than saying maybe this game is going to stay under.
Yeah, I mean, and you can get that total right now as high as 48 if you're an under player. You know, you mentioned that Indy's 3-0 at home. Baltimore's 3-0 on the road. Their
Okay.
two losses have come at home this year, so something's got to give in that regard. Yeah, Lamar Jackson. What Chip is alluding to is I was on a little bit of a rant because we both had Baltimore last week, and he fumbled twice inside the 10-yard line. He opened the game with a pick six. That's hard to overcome, especially when you're laying points. So, and especially when you're playing a physical team. Here's my
There it is.
concern with Baltimore, Chipper, is they're coming off a game against Pittsburgh last week, physical matchup. It doesn't normally take a toll during the course of a game, even in the fourth quarter if it's physical. It normally takes its toll through the course of the week trying to recover your body and into the next game. So keep an eye on that, how Baltimore, A, recovers from that really tough loss against a bitter rival in Pittsburgh, and then B, how they recover physically. Are they going to be physically right in this game against an Indy team that can be very physical at the point of attack? Their offensive line, one of the best in football. Anyway, I'm talking to Las Vegas professional sports handicapper Chip Chirimbes. He's my co-host. I'm Ross Benjamin. You're listening to the OSGA YouTube channel. I almost said Sports Network. I got sidetracked there, Chip. Miami at Arizona. The Arizona Cardinals opened as a 6-point favorite. The public is in love with the Miami Dolphins, Chipper. It's down to 4.5, and the total in this game is 49. Miami, 3-0 straight up in ATS in their last three. Arizona, 3-0 straight up in ATS in their last three. You take it from here, my friend.
Well, I think everyone's on that Miami because of that great debut that Tua had last week. My goodness, Ross said they passed for under 100 yards, 90 or 91. They had 44 yards rushing, and we discussed this. 2 defensive special team turnovers for touchdowns, and the Rams gave the ball up, I think, 4 times the entire game.
Yeah.
And Miami, where else but the NFL can you have a team that gets only 8 first downs in an entire game, be leading by 21 points at one time? I mean, that's an unusual thing. And maybe the storyline here should be more along the lines of a matchup between these 2 quarterbacks. Tua, who came out of Alabama and, of course, was the 5th pick. And the reason why he was 5th is because of the injury. And Kyle Murray, who was the number 1 pick and has a year under his belt. These 2 met in the football Final Four. I think it was in semifinal round. And
yes, that's correct.
With Alabama going against Oklahoma. And Tua, with a much better supporting cast, absolutely destroyed the Sooners. 24, 27, 4 touchdowns, 5 yards. While Kyle Murray could pat himself on the back for one thing in that game. He ran as a quarterback for over 100 yards.
Yeah.
But he really, big plays come from Arizona because of Murray's escapability, his quickness, and his ability to throw on the run. Because when he starts moving, everything separates on the defensive end, in the secondary, and he creates big plays. That's what he did at Oklahoma. And the thing here about this Arizona team, they're playing really good ball with him now. They struggled at the beginning of the season last year. They're now 7-2-1 in their last 10 against the number. But Ross, this team is not used to playing in the favorites role.
Yeah.
They've only covered 2 of the last 7 as favorites.
Yeah, that's a good observation because I was going to say the same thing. They're a dynamite underdog, but they're sort of a lamb as a favorite. So, but I think this is a different Arizona team that we've seen in past years. It also helps to have DeAndre Hopkins as a wide receiver who Murray didn't have at his disposal last year.
Well, Houston didn't need him either.
and Houston didn't need Bill O'Brien either, who made that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
With debacle of a trade. Anyway, I don't know. Miami, like I said on the other show, I wrote a nice article on them going over 7.5 regular season wins. I indicated I thought they would be a very good underdog early on, especially in the first half of the year, because they would be undervalued because everybody's going to have that mindset of the Miami Dolphins of the last couple of years. And they've lived up to my expectations as they've gone 5-1 against the spread in the last 6. But Chip, you look at this current 3-game win streak. they're averaging less than 300 yards a game in offense.
Yep.
You know, and last week they, like you alluded to, a little misleading. The Rams outgained Miami 471 to 145.
Unbelievable.
So again, I'm looking at Miami getting a lot of the money here. I'm going to have a lean toward the Cardinals in this game. A lot of people will have their eyes on this Sunday night matchup, Chip. And I know you love these standalone games. You're the master of the standalone games.
Yeah, until this past Monday.
Okay, yeah, but going into that, I'll let you touch upon that. But let me just give the folks where we're at with this game right now. Opened at 4.5, still 4.5. And the total in this game, 51. And Chipper, despite Tampa Bay looking like the better team at this juncture than New Orleans is, and that's tough to say because New Orleans has won 4 in a row, but they haven't covered in their last 3. And Tampa Bay is going to be playing with revenge because that opening week of the season, they lost at New Orleans. Despite all that, the Saints are getting the money here. You know, if you look at the money, how it's divided up, the volume of bets and the money bet on, the public is fading or taking, I should say, New Orleans in this spot. What's your thoughts here? First of all, tell the people how well you've done on these standalone games this year.
Well, actually, in the NFL right now, I'm 15-7, and these are on the Thursday nights, the Sunday nights, and the Monday night games. We got beat with San Francisco last time out. That was what I was alluding to. But otherwise, I really seem to have a good hold on this. It seems that when the nation's energy and action is focused, I seem to do better. This game at Tampa Bay has these 2 veteran quarterbacks, these 2 geezers. And that should probably be the storyline about the beginning of the year, Ross. We were talking about which one of these guys has faded the most. And yet both of them have their respective clubs in first place. New Orleans is 7th in passing, 266 yards a game. And Tampa Bay is 8th in passing with 265 yards a game. Actually, just a hair under the Saints. You know, the Saints rushing D has played really, really well, and that may be why they've been able to win some of these games they're only allowing 91 yards a game on the ground. They're +5 in takeaways, which has really helped. But, you know, the thing that bothers me about this game is we're looking at Brady, who's playing so well and efficiently running this Tampa team, which we've seen be a turnover machine when they had Winston there the last 2 years. And yet now they're more proficient, 6-1 straight up, only 4-4 against the numbers because they are going to be favored with Brady there and probably a bit inflated. Now they have Big Chest Brown on their lineup.
Yeah.
And I know
your favorite player, isn't he?
Oh yeah. I love people that get rewarded for bad behavior. And he's a much better person now. I mean, just like the guy on
talking to Tony Robbins. Come on, Chipper.
You know, he's going to be a functional part of society now. No more throwing people off of balconies and stuff along those lines. But anyway, the thing that concerns me about this game, and I think 4.5 is a strong number for Tampa, is the rate of proficiency for the Saints as an underdog, 20-6 in their last 26 games as underdogs. And that's a huge, huge number to overcome. And Breeze has been quarterback in all of those games. So that being said, I think this comes up a very strong number here. And I'm going to have to sit and wait and let everyone get this game on Sunday from me because I'm not going to be able to post it for you right now.
Yeah, tough call. And to Chipper's point, first of all, Drew Brees wasn't a quarterback in all that streak. There was Teddy Bridgewater, who started 5 games for the
there you go.
Yeah, 5-0 straight up in ATS. You know what I mean? So, and in any event, your point's well taken, Chipper. I mean, look, here's the facts, okay? And it goes hand in hand to the point Chip was making about New Orleans on the road. 2018-2019 season, 7-1 on the road, straight up. 2019-2020 season, 7-1 straight up on the road. That's 14-2, and they start this year 2-1 on the road. 16-3 straight up since 2018 on the road during regular season action. I got to specify that, even though their 2 playoff losses were both at home. So let's just say 16-3 on the road. That's awfully damn good. And now you're giving them better than a field goal, actually 4.5. So I guess from that standpoint, You could look at it as a good betting value on the underdog. From my other standpoint, I don't like the fact that they're getting a lot of the money here. I would have thought, my big thing when I discussed Tampa Bay with you, Chipper, was that I thought that they would be overvalued and they'd be a huge public side. Well, I don't know if you could say they're overvalued in this spot, but I do know this. They're not a huge public side this week.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that would take me away from jumping on New Orleans since they're so good on the road. Chipper, what do you got? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just want to make one comment there. If people are going to look at, we talk about this streaks and trends and stuff along those lines. You got to throw whatever Tampa Bay has done in recent out. You got to throw the past out. They've only covered 7 of the last 27 games as favorites at home, and it's a totally different story now when you got Brady running the show. So and they've had so many other pieces that have come in, and they are a contender now. I thought when they first got Brady that maybe it was going to be fine, but with the pieces that they've added since Brady has gotten there, their offense has become much more proficient, and I think those trends, those numbers you may see, you have to keep in mind that this is a totally different team.
Yeah, and you know what? People forget their defense is pretty damn good. Number 1 against the run last year, number 1 against the run this year. If New Orleans gets that running game going, it'll certainly help, but nobody's been able to run the ball with any kind of consistency against Tampa Bay in the last couple seasons. So, again, that's going to be a challenge for New Orleans because then they become one-dimensional if they can't run the ball. Not sure if Michael Thomas will be available. Not sure if he is available, how effective he'll be because he hasn't been when he has been out there. Chip, we got about 2 minutes. Tell the folks what you got on tap this weekend on Saturday in college football and Sunday in the NFL.
Well, my Saturdays have been absolutely fantastic. 8 straight winning Saturdays, highlighted last week by a 5-1 record. And I'm going to have a Fab 5. Saturday is going to be a little bit difficult for us with the scheduling and the canceling. I know they canceled games that both you and I liked. But you can get to me at 702-931-CHIP. That's 702-931-2447. And maybe we'll be able to work something out for the weekend. The site Chip Wins is going to be up by the end of next week. We're pretty sure of that. And otherwise, you can speak to me directly. And Ross, it's just the time of the year. I think the way things have broken out for us, things have really developed. I know you've been absolutely fantastic in the pros, and I've really started to swing and pick it up in the pros as well, going 4-1 on Sunday. And we did pass Monday night. Neither you or I wanted any part of that Giant game.
No, I know, and I kicked myself in the behind.
We passed up a winner. We did. We passed up a winner. But so, like I said, 702-931-CHIP. And we'll be able to make something work for I'm very, very confident in what I'm seeing out there in these college football games. And I'm ready to post right now.
And don't forget, next week his site goes up, chipwins.com, just like my site, rbwins.com, which is up. You can get my weekly or monthly packages there, folks. 7-day or 30-day packages, $149 for 7 days. $4.99 for 30 days. I give you my personal guarantee on the subscription plans, not the daily packages, subscription plans. If you're not making a profit at the end of the expiration of your subscription, I will continue on with you until you do. You just have to make that initial investment with me, and then I give you my personal guarantee that you must make a profit, or I continue on with your subscription until you do. That shows you that I have faith in myself to make you money over the long haul. I'm Ross Benjamin. You've been watching the Winner's Circle and 4. Chip Chirimbes. Have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget, subscribe to our OSGA YouTube channel. Give us a like at the end of this video. God bless and take care, folks.